I don't know if I'm on every channel, but I'm on at least one, so that's good. Um, just getting a little early start here so that I would know everything was working, and everything does appear to be working. I don't know if I'll be able to see comments or not. Um, I probably shouldn't. I probably shouldn't. Excuse me. Tested negative for COVID yesterday, so that's good news. I don't think I should monitor this though, because that will probably just suck up the bandwidth. Yep, I can already see it. But then how do I know if I'm still on? I don't know. I'll just sit here and watch myself. It's all very surreal. I hope this isn't one of those things where I just end up deleting the whole fucking mess afterward. Because this is probably too important. But we'll see. I don't know. How are you? So the other thing I gotta do here is get this started and check one, check two. Check, check, check. Yep, that's good. Maybe I should just leave that on. Because if I watch this, I'm probably just gonna get really sad. And that's probably a bad idea right now. Um, but I promised. I promised that I would do every Tuesday morning about this time. I would start my read along. So it's probably important to stick with that. Got this project coming up. Don't want to miss that. Don't want to blow that. Okay, that's going. I could probably just leave that alone now. So we're going to be, this is not the current cover, but this is one of the many covers of my debut novel, Party, which came out in 2010, which means I started writing it probably 2007 or thereabouts, when I first had the idea to see if I could take dissimilar characters and put them into one cohesive story, even if they all got their own point of view. Now, it's not unusual to have a novel, obviously, with multiple points of view. It's not even necessarily, um, no, it is actually fairly unusual for them to all have first person. That's not terribly common, so I was very proud of myself. And it's, you could call it a technique. If you're more cynical, you could call it a gimmick. I don't really care. I don't have a problem using the word gimmick. Either way, the novel has 11 chapters, and each chapter is told by one person's point of view. So while our first character, Beckett, who we're going to be talking about today, only gets one chapter from her first person point of view, she's still in the rest of the story, but she's seen through everybody else's point of view. So that's how that unfolded. And if you haven't heard yet, that particular novel has now been turned into a finished feature film by Rhino Rider Productions out in LA, and I've seen it a couple times now, and it's so much fun. It was glorious to see these characters come to life and see how they were interpreted. I just actually left a comment on one of the actors' Instagram accounts, say that we follow each other, and he played Josh in the movie. Did an excellent job. All the actors did a phenomenal job in the movie, and it was just interesting to reflect that I wrote the novel, and of course I had guidance from my agent at the time and my editor at the time. So there was that collaboration, but then I handed it over to a screenwriter who put his own spin on it, and then he took it to a director and a cinematographer and so on, and they put their spin on it, and then of course the actors put their take on it. So by the time you see the movie, you have 10, 20, 30 different people all having contributed to this one moment, this one character, this one story, and yet everybody made it their own. The novel is different than the movie, right? And the novel and the movie are both different from the comic book. And both the movie and the novel and the comic book are different from the audiobook, even though the audiobook is reading from this exact text It's still a performer putting their own spin on it, right? So I just find it fascinating to see how many different hands there can be into one project like that, and how everyone puts their own little uh, piece into it, their own little sense of ownership into it, and how awesome that is. For those of you who are writers or creators, specifically writers, really, my advice, and other more established screenwriters or people in Hollywood or whatever, comic book writers, whoever, might have a different take. My take has always been, particularly once there's money involved, listen, if you paid me and I signed on the dotted line and I cashed your check, I don't own that shit anymore. I don't. I have given that over to you. Now, in this particular case, the producer and the screenwriter did ask for my opinions and, like, what did you think and blah, blah, blah. And we had a couple conversations about that. They took some of my ideas, some of them they didn't. Either way, unless it's in the contract, they're not obligated to take my ideas by any stretch of the imagination. Nor do I feel like I should ask them to, because I took their money. I sold this off. You guys go and do your thing. Whether I like it or not, kind of irrelevant. I took your money. Now, that's very cynical, I realize, but if you think that's cynical, well, you don't know me very well. I don't find it cynical at all. I find it realistic and freeing, because now I get to go off and now write my new thing and then get to enjoy what other people have done with it. So I don't feel particularly, like that my fingers, my hands, my fingerprints need to remain on a property like that. Like, if you're going to make money off it, you better pay me. Absolutely. But outside of that, no, you've got it. Go do something with it. I've seen people. There's actually I've actually have fan fiction. It's not very much, but I've seen fan fiction online from some of my novels, and it's like, wow. And I don't care. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that you felt so connected and so impacted by this story that you had to go and tell your own version of it. That fine. Now, if you're making money on it, that's a whole other thing. Piracy, whole other thing, whole other topic, which we should probably talk about now that it's 10:30 and nobody's watching because it's 10:30. I'm going to shut this down or I will fucking freak out. There we go. Piracy. There's nothing I can do about that. The only thing I can do about that, the only thing I can do to mitigate piracy is to take control of the rights to my stories myself, which is why this comic book, which as you can see or hear is completed, it's finished here. Maybe if you're listening to this instead of watching, maybe you can hear the... Yeah, those are actual pages. This comic book is printed and ready to fucking go, and I'm so very proud of that. This comic book is going to be on Kickstarter. The pre-page is up. Let me know if you need a link. I'll be posting it all over the place, so it shouldn't take you too long to find. So if you want to go take a look at it and click that big green button that says notify me, that would be great, because this thing is going to launch on February 8th. 7th? 8th. February 8th. This comic book project goes live, and I'm so excited to share it with you. And the reason I'm so excited to share it with you, and the reason I'm doing this is I'm so exhausted sometimes by not being authentic. I tend to be pretty authentic overall, I think. Those of you who know me well, I don't think I'm terribly fake. I certainly hope you don't think so. But there are certain things that maybe I should keep to myself. Now, I had a very influential and successful speaker once tell me that you do not work your shit out behind the microphone. And I get that, and I agree with that, and he's right. I tend to do it anyway because I don't fucking care. I don't have a lot to lose by being honest and telling you my story, because maybe somebody out there, maybe you right now watching or listening, needs to hear it. And if you don't, that's cool. I'm glad. I'm glad you don't need to hear what I'm about to say. That's fantastic, sincerely. But somebody might, and so I have to say it, and I don't ask anybody else to do it. I don't want anybody else to share their shit. I do have a platform. It's this big, it's very, very tiny, but I have one, and if I don't fucking use it and maybe touch that one person with it, then the fuck am I doing here? Okay? That's how we got here. So, today's reading comes from, because we're in church, today's reading, if you'll all turn to Matthew. So this is the first little bit of Party, the novel. This is the first page. It has not changed in 11 years. And it goes like this. Chapter 1 is entitled Beckett. I'm the girl nobody knows until she commits suicide. Then suddenly everyone had a class with her. You know the one I mean. And we're going to stop there. We're just going to fucking stop there and talk about that shit for a second. Because this isn't a character or a story about suicide. It's not. It wasn't back then, and it isn't now. As we continue reading, Beckett will even tell you, in first person, I don't want to die. So that's not what this is about. Not in the novel version anyway. That may change in other versions. Right now, we're talking about the novel, and in the novel, that is not her intent. This is a girl, this is a person who feels invisible until it's too late. That is what she is saying. Most of us, I think, have that feeling. So when I let you all know that I'm doing this live stream and doing this podcast and doing all of this posting about the sensation of I don't know if I can see another sunrise, I'm not necessarily talking about dying. I'm talking about I just can't face it. I don't want to see the world lit up by the sunlight anymore because it hurts too much. This story, Party, Beckett's Last Mixtape, Butterflies, this story has been and continues to be me reaching out in the formats I know how to reach out in because I don't want to get that fucking voicemail or that fucking answering machine message, for those of you old enough to know what an answering machine is, that says, hey man, I'm just out. I can't. I'm just out. Just wanted to say goodbye. Click. Because I've gotten that fucking call. And I know after the fact we tried to laugh about it, and I did my fucking courtesy laugh alongside of you, trying to make light of it. Yeah, that's the Tylenol night. That was fucking great. The whole fucking time, my chest is being crushed by a weight that apparently you can't see. I guess I'm a good enough actor that you didn't see how laughing about that was tearing my fucking chest apart. So I write this story, and I share this story, and I put this story out there so that maybe nobody else has to get that fucking call. Or worse, doesn't get a call at all, and it's just too fucking late. There's too much invisibility. I hope you'll agree, we are living in very desperate times right now. And that's the only way I'm going to describe it. I will not get into any other aspect, any other definition. You fill in that blank. But can you agree we are living in desperate times? Please God, Sonny Jesus, just go with me that far. These are desperate times. However you want to define it. But my stories, particularly if they involve young people, particularly if they involve teenagers, young adults, whatever, high school. If I write a story about that time of life, whether it's set in the 1990s when I grew up, or it's set in the current day, whatever, or if it's set on another fucking planet, doesn't matter. I don't want to get that phone call again. So this comic book right here, and it's fucking beautiful, you guys. I mean, it's just, my artist Addie did it's a beautiful book. My friend Andy did the letters. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. It's been 11 years, and I keep coming back to this story, and I keep getting it out there. On the off chance that someone doesn't feel seen. I wrote a whole other book about Mercy Rule. If you haven't read Mercy Rule, every fucking page of Mercy Rule is somebody screaming from the depths of their soul, do you see me? It's a beautiful scene in the movie Butterflies, based on Party. It's called Butterflies. Butterflies dot dot dot, actually. Butterflies ellipsis, technically. And Beckett, this same character who starts the novel off, there's this fuck. They just nailed it. I can't even say it. There's this beautiful scene that they just fucking crushed, where Beckett is on this pier out in California looking out at the ocean, and she stands on the railing and she just screams from the bottom of her soul, "Can anybody see me?" But that's not what the story's about. I'm the girl, I don't even need to look at it. I'm the girl nobody knows until she commits suicide. Then suddenly everyone at a class with her, you know the one I mean. That's some dismal fucking shit right there, right? Oh my god, Tom, you're so fucking dark and cynical and whatever. That's page 1! It's page 1! We got a whole story left to go. That's not where it ends, that's where it starts. It starts there. And the rest of the story is about how, spoiler alert, you get fucking through it. So that you don't make that call and leave that voicemail saying, "Yeah, man, I'm out, just wanted to say goodbye." Because I don't want that fucking call again. This book, this story, this fucking comic book, all of it, that's page 1. You have to keep reading. Because if I'm going to write a story, particularly that involves young people, then that story is going to be about hope. That story is going to be about how to get through it. And the only way, maybe not the only, one of the best ways I have encountered in my 47 fucking years of doing that is family. And not just any family, but your chosen family. That's what this story is about. That's what Party is about. That is what Butterflies is about as far as I'm concerned. It's all about that. Because the phone call I don't mind getting, and that I get from time to time, and that I send, the messages I send from time to time. I might have to do it later today. The calls and the messages I don't mind getting are, "Fuck, bro, today's rough." "Cool, man. You okay?" "Yeah." "Great. Need anything?" "No, just wanted to say." "All right, cool." Because those are the messages I share with certain people. Every once in a while. Sometimes it's just completely random. Somebody, a friend of mine will just text and say, "You good?" That's it. "You good?" And sometimes I am. I'm like, "Yep." And other times, today, nope. Today's tough. That would be a message I would send today to some of my chosen family. "Today's rough, man." That's it. That's all that needs to be said. You know why? Because then I'm going to get a message back saying, "Copy that. Gotcha. Cool. Whatever." And now I'm seen. So, today's action item is this. Just check in with somebody if you need to. Or let somebody know they can always check in. Because for as much as I don't want to hear that fucking phone call again, I don't want to get that voicemail again, that fucking message again saying, bye, I'm out. For as much as I don't want that message again, he still called. And I still heard what I needed to hear, and I still got there in time. So there's that. At least he called. And I got there. And I don't think about it much. I don't talk about it much. I can't believe I'm talking about it now, but it's been a while, so I kind of feel like the, statute of limitations has passed, but I would have much rather have gotten a message earlier saying, man, today's bad. Today's rough. Can you come over? Anything, something. These stories, Beckett's last mixtape, Party, Butterflies, they are not about dying. They are not about giving up. They are about hope, and they are about hope in that chosen family. The 3 a.m. phone call. I'm not doing well. If you're doing well, good. I'm so glad. If you're doing well, if you are in a position of strength right now, even if some days you aren't, I'm not just right now, but you know somebody who isn't always, just send a text or email, tap them on social media, whatever. Hey, checking in. How you doing? That's it. That's it. That's enough. A lot of times that's enough. Anyway, so now I'm going to sell you a book. I'm going to sell you a book. Beckett's Last Mixtape, comic book, goes up on Kickstarter February 8th. Hope you'll consider pledging and joining, not because, just because it's a great book. Because it's a great comic, it's beautiful, and I think you'll enjoy it. I think you will connect with it, and maybe somebody will connect with it. Now, it's only issue number 1 of a planned 3-issue series because it takes some time to tell the whole story, but just remember when you sign up that this is page 1, and you got to read past page 1 and see what else is going on.